let's just get this over with so I can get to the good stuff. You'd think that with this being based off of one of the most iconic Batman comics, and having the fan favorite voices of Batman and Joker, that this movie would surely be a hit. But no, it was a miss. A really big miss. I'm hoping not to spend too long on this one, as it has already been bashed into the ground by many other DC fans. Based on the comic of the same name, Batman the Killing Joke received a limited run theatrical release in the summer of 2016, and I even bought the comic in preparation for this video so I could do a comparison. And to my surprise, the Killing Joke only topped off at about 53 pages in length. So what did they do to stretch it out into a 1 hour and 16 minute long flick? Make the first half of the movie have absolutely nothing to do with the Killing Joke. The first 28 minutes of this movie revolves around this sicko criminal hitting on Batgirl, prompting Batman to try and put Batgirl off duty, as he can see that he is trying to get into her head, and that Batgirl's main motivation for crime fighting is thrill seeking. This guy goes by the nickname Paris France? No, that is not a joke. And he plays Batgirl into his hand, which Batman reprimands her for, and oh, for fuck's sake, Bruce! It's one thing for Batman to have many love interests, but doing the deed with the daughter of his best friend, a man who in many continuities was there for him when his parents died, and he considered a second father figure next to Alfred. This scene is just so wrong on so many levels. So yeah, I'm one of those people who does not like Bruce x Barbara as a ship. It just does not work for me at all. Batgirl assists Batman, who gets ambushed at the docks by Ferris. Batgirl beats the living shit out of him, nearly killing him, and Ferris goes to jail and we never see him again for the rest of the movie's runtime.
Silver, if you keep stealing my jokes, I will drag you to hell myself.
Been there. It was boring, remember?
Oh, right. But I'm watching you.
Anyways, good to know that the first 28 minutes of this movie was wasted on a sick love triangle nobody asked for. Now, this might be surprising to hear, but after passing the 28-minute mark, I don't really have much issues with the rest of the runtime. Yeah, after the first near half hour, the movie pretty much just becomes a mostly one-to-one adaptation of the comic. Again, I bought the comic in preparation for this video, and reread it one more time the instant I finished watching the movie, for comparison's sake. And maybe I just don't see it, but I couldn't find any issues with the second chunk of the movie's runtime. It was just a more or less faithful adaptation of the comic, from the art style to the dialogue. Now, I'm not trying to say that this makes the movie good by any means, because the first half definitely hurt the quality of the movie big time. But I feel like most people base their hatred and criticism off those godforsaken first 28 minutes of the movie. The second chunk of the movie more or less plays out the same way as the source material, with Joker escaping Arkham once more, with the desire to prove a point to Batman, Gordon, and the rest of Gotham. He shoots and cripples Barbara Gordon from the waist down, and proceeds to strip her and take sickening photographs of her, and use them in an attempt to drive Jim Gordon insane. Batman arrives on the scene to help his friend, whose sanity and will remain as strong as ever. Joker, in frustration, tries to convince Batman that he is just as insane as he is, and that anyone can be driven to insanity from just one bad day just like he was. Eventually, their fight ends as usual, with Batman besting Joker, and the latter awaits the former to give him a beating, before he sends him back off to Arkham. But Batman, in a rare moment between the two, decides to offer Joker his compassion, and that he can help him. He extends his hand, but Joker declines, believing that there is no hope for him. This is probably the most normal conversation Batman and Joker have ever had. But in no time, Joker thinks of a joke and reverts back to his joyful self. This joke reflects on his philosophy of himself and Batman's offer to help him, and Batman gets the joke and laughs. So creepy hearing Kevin Conroy laughing in his Batman voice. The man had a wonderful, heartwarming laugh, but something about hearing him laugh as Batman feels chilling. Now, I'm not saying that this movie is good or that I enjoyed watching it all the way through. The first 28 minutes of this movie had me rolling my eyes and thinking, what the fuck am I watching? But once I got past the worst of it, I had a perfectly okay time watching the rest of it. Of course, Joker showing the Commissioner his daughter undressed and bleeding is unsettling to watch, but it is accurate to the comic it's based on, which is supposed to be dark and unsettling in the first place. It's just that the first 28 minutes of this movie does not mesh well with the rest of the storyline of the Killing Joke, and displays one of Batman's most insulting moments in his on-screen history. I certainly did not enjoy this movie for most of my time watching it, but it is honestly not the worst thing I ever had the displeasure of watching. I hadn't seen this movie in years, and went into it expecting to despise it like other DC fans, but in the end, it was not the most insulting thing I've seen as a movie in its entirety. I feel like most people judge this movie solely on its first half, which yes, I agree is god-awful, but the second half of this movie from my experience is more or less faithful enough to the source material. The animation is pretty well done, along with the voice acting including veterans like Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, and Tara Strong. Batman the Killing Joke is still not a good adaptation overall, and definitely the lowest point of Batman cinematic history. I can at least laugh at Batman and Robin, but my experience with the Killing Joke movie was a mix of disgust, confusion for the first half, and then just an alright experience for the remainder of the runtime. If you hate this movie, that's totally fine. You are free to hate this movie with all of your heart, and I don't care about it enough to defend it or stop you. But I would be lying if I said that I despise the Killing Joke movie as a whole package, based on just one insulting scene. I give this movie the E tier. I'm not gonna spend much time on Killing Joke Batman, as I don't have much to say about him. For positives, he looks cool and accurate to the comic. And I dig the dark blue and grey color scheme for the suit. He's got the typical Bat gear, he shows compassion to his arch nemesis despite all the fucked up shit he's done, and Kevin Conroy delivered 110% as always. For negatives, he leaves the Arkham Gate open. No wonder the villains keep escaping from that place. He throws one of Joker's guys into a spike trap, which I highly doubt he survived that. And of course, he bangs Batgirl. I don't want to be repeating myself, but I know that I'm not the only one who dislikes this ship. I will give this Batman a D tier. Moving on. Growing up, I was really into Legos. I mentioned that the Lego Batman games were my first exposure to Batman, and I had a lot of Lego sets back in my youth, which unfortunately I no longer have since obviously I was getting older, so my parents got rid of most of it. And I'm still sad about it to this day, as I have lots of fond memories of my Lego creations. But enough about that. Let's talk about something fun. The Lego Batman movie, set in the Lego Movie franchise. You remember the Lego Movie, right? One of the biggest movie releases back in 2014. And with it being based on my favorite toy brand at the time, and with Batman as one of the supporting characters, you can guess that my hype for it was through the roof. And you can bet that like many others who loved this movie back in 2014, that Everything is Awesome was playing in my head over and over. And the next movie in that franchise would star that version of Batman as the main character. This movie came out around the end of my Lego phase, but that didn't stop me from looking forward to it. Like the original Lego movie, the Lego Batman movie takes full advantage of being set in a world made completely out of Lego pieces. The way things break, stick together, the characters having Lego pieces when their limbs pose in ways that a minifigure wouldn't in real life, and even Bane being a big fig and only having articulation in his arms and not his legs, so he just bops around. Oh yeah, Gotham's Reckoning, everybody! He is totally gonna break the Batman for sure! This movie pulls out all the stops from Batman's lore and rogues gallery. Yep, even the most obscure and laughable villains from the deepest depths of the Batman iceberg are here. From Joker, to Two-Face, to Catwoman, to Penguin, to Calendar Man, to Kite Man, to Catman, Mr. Eraser, and the Condiment King! Wait, is that a sex joke? But all of them are no match for Lego Batman, who is just as much of a show-off and a jerk as he was the last time we saw him. Batman in this movie is a reckless thrill seeker who loves beating the bricks out of his rogues gallery every night while listening to angry metal music composed by himself. He loves every minute of his reckless lifestyle and pushes everyone away from being close to him, and believes that relationships are a weakness. He even takes the Joker for granted, which upsets the Clown Prince of Crime. After 78 years, Batman feels nothing towards Joker and their rivalry. Normally Joker is the one clinging on to Batman, as his sole purpose is to fight Batman and mock his beliefs, and Batman doesn't need Joker to have fulfillment in life, since he hopes to leave the world in a better place than he found it. But in this movie, the tables are turned. Batman here is nothing without his villains, as his sole purpose for living is beating the crap out of them, and receiving cheers and adoration from Gotham citizens in return. Just like in the 60s TV series and the 90s movies, Jim Gordon is heavily reliant on Batman, and leaves most of Gotham's crime problems for Batman to fix for him. However, Jim being useless isn't actually an issue in this movie, as this plays into Batman's flaws, which Barbara Gordon brings up in her speech as Gotham's new commissioner, following her father's retirement. She opens the citizens' eyes and shows them that despite Batman fighting for nearly 8 decades, he's never truly made Gotham safe since his villains are always on the loose more often than not, especially the Joker. Heartbroken by Batman's lack of appreciation for their rivalry, Joker formulates a plan to teach Batman the hard way that he truly is worthy of being his greatest enemy by robbing him of his purpose. He surrenders himself and the rest of the villains without their knowledge or consent, and Gotham is finally truly at peace, leaving Batman alone with no one to fight or to spend time with. We all know how the death of his parents left him to channel that rage into becoming a crime-fighting vigilante, but this movie explores how that tragic event has also led to Batman shutting other people out of his life, out of fear of losing more friends or family and feeling that pain all over again. And we see this with how he treats Alfred by taking him for granted just like Joker, but all that changes when he unintentionally adopts Dick Grayson, while he was distracted eyeing Barbara. I hate that I'm circling back to this topic, but considering that this is a parody Batman movie and not a traditional Batman movie, I'll let it slide here, since the Batman x Barbara stuff doesn't go too far here, and is more so here to play into Batman's fear of being part of a family again. Back to Richard Grayson, he's an enthusiastic kid who is thrilled to learn that he seemingly has a second adopted parent being Batman. Batman turns his adopted kid into his crime-fighting sidekick, who chooses a hippie suit from Batman's vast collection of bat suits. And he chooses the codename Robin, much to Batman's distaste. Batman formulates a plan to steal Superman's Phantom Zone projector from his Fortress of Solitude. And much to Batman's dismay, the Justice League are celebrating their anniversary without him. Batman and Robin succeed in stealing the Phantom Zone projector, and destroying Superman's irreplaceable crystals containing his late father's knowledge. They then break into Arkham, and Batman sends Joker to the Phantom Zone, believing he's doing it to ensure Gotham's safety. But Batman played right into Joker's hands, giving him the means to recruit Voldemort, the Dalek, Gremlins, Jaws, Sauron, King fucking Kong! Is this even a Batman movie anymore? I may only have basic knowledge on these villains, but I don't care. I'm all for this. They not only went all out with pulling all the villains from Batman's rogues gallery, but also recognizable villains from other movies. Of course, most of them are owned by Warner Bros., with a few exceptions like the Dalek being from Doctor Who, which is owned by the BBC. Probably made it in there thanks to their LEGO Dimensions collaboration. Glad to see them using again after being sued last time. The Joker unleashes all of these villains on Gotham, prompting Batman to reluctantly work with Barbara, Alfred, and Robin to take back the city, with Alfred even sporting the 60s Batsuit. It's a nice reference to the occasions where he had to wear the Batsuit when Batman and Bruce had to appear together. And together, Team Batman succeeds in taking down Joker's literal eye-in-the-sky Sauron, thanks to a misfire from the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. That moment always gets a good laugh out of me. This little victory also brings the team closer together, which causes Batman to have cold feet, realizing he's closer to having a family again. Fearing the worst, Batman locks them in the Batwing and programs the vehicle to fly them away to safety, and he heads back home to confront the Joker on his own. Joker witnessed Batman push his friends away, further assuring him that Batman is still a stubborn loner and that he will never change. He sends Bats to the Phantom Zone, where the attendant scans him, revealing his whole personality. Batman finally gets a chance to reflect on his neglectful attitude and destructive behavior, as he is shown all the not so good things he's done. With a change of heart, Batman promises the attendant that he will return all of the villains that Joker broke free, and that this time he won't do it alone. He finally embraces his new Bat family and calls in his gallery of rogues to assist them in taking back their city. With Gotham's villains at his side, some pop music, and some 60s words popping out of thin air, Team Batman succeeds in returning all of the Phantom Zone villains back where they came from. And even the shark repellent gets used for the first time in 50 years against the most infamous shark in cinematic history. But they are just too late to stop Joker's master plan, which is to destroy Gotham City using an oversized bomb, separating the city in half as it falls into the abyss of nothingness from the first Lego movie. However, Batman displays his newly found appreciation for working with others and orders everyone to stick together literally. And he appeals to Joker for assistance. And Joker finally sees that Batman has changed, and he agrees to help his greatest enemy save their city so that they can continue to fight for another 80 years. Gotham is saved once again, and Batman bids Dick farewell, finally allowing his son to call him Dad. I like to think that in this moment, Bruce Wayne is reborn, as he has finally allowed himself to open his heart to others again. He attempts to return to the Phantom Zone as he promised, but the Brick Lady also sees Batman's change of heart, and allows him to stay. The Gotham villains get a head start, as Batman heads home with his new family, and they spend time together with joy. All in all, the LEGO Batman movie is not only a great parody of Batman, but also a great love letter to the franchise's at the time 78-year-long history, with references pulled from all of its corners. From the cast of villains, to references to past Batman movies and comics, and even pulling in villains from other franchises that have nothing to do with Batman just because why not? Batman being a flawed and reckless jerk made for a really compelling story about him learning to open his heart to others, and that he doesn't have to do everything alone. And I like how this leads to Batman and Joker's relationship being turned on its head, with Batman needing Joker to gain fulfillment in his life and learning how much he should embrace the company of others. The animation is very well done, and the movie does a great job at taking advantage of being set in a world made of Lego, since Batman is shown to be capable of building bat vehicles on the fly using only the bricks around him. The voice acting is very well done, the humor works really great, and the movie has a lot of heartfelt moments, and cool action scenes. This movie takes a lot of jabs at Batman, but it's also a great love letter to the character. As a wise man once said, the reason people love Batman is because he's flawed. And this movie amplifies those flaws by 12, which makes for a great character arc. I enjoyed this movie well enough when it first came out, and my love and appreciation for it has grown over the past 8 years with every rewatch. I know I don't have much deep stuff to say about this movie, but to be honest, I guess there's not really much for me to say other than that it's fun and it has heart. Batman fans will definitely enjoy all the Easter eggs and references, and even those who have only the bare minimum of knowledge about Batman will probably find enjoyment in this movie as well, as it lays out all the important stuff and has great comedy. I will give this movie the certified bat rank, because what the heck, it's just that fun. So, LEGO Batman. Since this is meant to be a parody version of the character, the criteria I've set for what I look for in a good Batman don't necessarily apply to him. He follows the no-kill rule pretty well, I think. I can't recall any moments where he breaks the rule, but either way it's not a big deal. This is a Batman who is fully engrossed into his crime fighter persona, and has made it his sole purpose of existing. And Will Arnett does such a good job with his dark gritty voice for Batman, fitting with his loner vibe and hints of him being a spoiled brat. And even when Batman is Bruce Wayne in public, he acts pretty much the same. Again, I believe we don't truly see Bruce Wayne until he opens his heart to Dick and accepts his role as being his adopted father. His vehicles are wacky and endless in variety. with the Batmobile having hydraulic wheels and capable of transforming into the Batwing, further shows off Lego Batman's resourcefulness and his giant ego. Lego Batman also has a seemingly endless supply of weapons, a cool looking suit with glowing eyes, and it's cute that he uses a Siri equivalent for the Batcomputer. When it comes to detective stuff, I'm pretty sure it's irrelevant to this Batman, since his behavior gets so bad to the point where Alfred has to enable the Batcomputer's parental lock. And Lego Batman's fight scenes are very well animated and exciting to watch. Overall, I give Lego Batman the A rank. He's definitely not your typical Batman, but he is an entertaining Batman to watch. Woohoo boy, have I been looking forward to talking about this one. Originally set to be released in the failed DCEU continuity, the Batman was set to star and be directed by Ben Affleck, but due to his poor experience with working on Justice League, and he was not the only one, he decided to hang up his cape and cowl before donning them one last time for the flush, which marked the end to this poorly planned mess of a cinematic universe. Oh, and there was also these two movies, but whatever. And there was lots of missed potential with this cinematic universe, and one of those pieces of missed potential was Ben Affleck's Batman. You know what? Let's explore that, shall we? Here's a lightning round on my ranking for Batfleck. He may not have gotten a solo movie, but he is technically a live-action Batman that has appeared in movies that were released theatrically, so I feel it's only fair, cause when else am I gonna talk about him this thoroughly? First off, for positives, his suit is frickin' awesome. You can tell that Zack Snyder loved The Dark Knight Returns from its design with the black and dark grey color scheme, the short ears, and the chunky bat logo. And the cowl has gotta be one of the best live-action bat cowls ever, as it's got a menacing expression, and it extends all the way down to his shoulders without restricting his ability to turn his head. The suit definitely succeeds in making Batman look like an animal and frightening to those who fear him. His fight scenes are very well done. As I brought up in part 3, I like when Batman is shown as a fast and hard hitter. Don't just tell me that Batman is strong enough to engage a large group of opponents. Show me that he is. His Batmobile looks like a mix between Nolan's militaristic aesthetic and the traditional Batmobile design with machine guns. Which brings me to the negatives. If you thought that Bale and Keaton's Batman kill count were bad, Batfleck's body count is higher than both of them combined. Zack Snyder obviously didn't give two shits about Batman's most important character trait, and thought that making Batman kill people would make him look cooler. I'm sorry, Zack, but no. You can't just make Batman kill people without giving a proper story reason. As for the rest, Affleck's Bruce is kinda just okay. His detective skills are basic. He's an angry hothead who thinks that killing Superman is the only logical thing to do instead of talking it out with him or at least hearing him out. And while his base batsuit is pretty cool, the one he wears in the Flush is just god-awful. It looks so stupid. This is the worst live-action batsuit I've seen, bar none. It looks like an action figure. Under a director who properly understood Batman's character, instead of just stripping away his core elements in an attempt to make him look cool, Ben Affleck probably could have been a great Batman, since he had the potential. Oh well, we don't live in that reality though. I'll give him the D tier. So with Ben Affleck dropping directing and starring duties for the Batman, the project would eventually land in the hands of director Matt Reeves, who decided to ditch Affleck's script, not out of disrespect, but more so, this is cool, but I want to do something different. He reworked the whole movie's plot, and decided to have it set outside the DCEU, as he would have more creative freedom to construct his own Batman, his interpretation of those characters, and Gotham City. And holy crap, that was for the best, considering the state of not just the DCEU at the time, but also the Marvel Cinematic Universe entering its downfall era. It was refreshing to see a modern superhero movie that was just a standalone movie and made use of practical effects and no bad CGI. That was unfortunately starting to become the norm for the MCU with its rushed quantity over quality output. The Batman feels like a director's vision brought to life, rather than yet another product made to rake in more money for the studio. The Batman is a murder mystery with a whopping 2 hours and 56 minutes in runtime, making it the longest Batman movie yet. Whether this is a good or bad thing depends on who you ask, but as someone who loves Batman and a good murder mystery story, this movie had my undivided attention for the whole runtime the first time me and the Blood Production gang went to see it in the cinema. We even got a free comic from that trip with pages from The Long Halloween, one of the inspirations Matt Reeves drew for the Batman story. As this movie begins on Halloween night, the spookiest night of the year, where people celebrate by dressing up in costumes, robbing convenience stores, making graffiti, beating random people up for no reason, and killing their mayor with a carpeting tool. This masked criminal calls himself the Riddler, played by Paul Dano, and this version of the Riddler is more of a lunatic than Jim Carrey's version, and shares his Arkham counterpart's tendency to force people into inhumane death traps. And the Riddler's goal is to expose the corruption of the most powerful men in Gotham and knock them off his kill list, all while leaving letters addressed to the Batman, who is into his second year as a crime-fighting vigilante. Batman is introduced perfectly in this movie, as the first shot we see of him shows him hiding in plain sight by wearing drifter clothes, and we then see him in the subway applying his eye makeup, and then emerging from the shadows in full batsuit with loud thumps from his boots as they hit the wet ground. Filled with rage, he vents his anger out on the criminals of Gotham by brutally beating them to a bloody pulp. And while he beats up the criminals, they do manage to get a lot of hits on him, but he just tanks them and retaliates. Not only do the criminals of Gotham fear him, but also the citizens who don't know what to make of this angry demon. Even the GCPD officers who had to work for their badges are disgusted at this vigilante dressed as a bat freely waltzing into a crime scene, just because he's buddies with Lieutenant Gordon, this time played by Jeffrey Wright. Batman barely speaks in the scene, yet his presence is so powerful from Robert Pattinson's eye movement and his body language, and of course Michael Giacchino's chilling Batman melody.
Martinez, let him through.
The photographers even take notice of a clue Batman finds just by looking at it. Again, he doesn't even say a word, and despite these people not liking him, they still take note of any valuable information he finds. And Batman speaks up when he notes that the victim was still alive when his thumb was severed, and when he figures out the answer to Riddler's riddle left for him, which discusses the commissioner, Pete Savage. Even though this guy is the police commissioner and he clearly hates Batman, he doesn't even have the guts to tell him to leave. He has to ask Gordon to escort him out. On their way out, Batman sees the victim's son who is being questioned, and again, Robert Pattinson's body language is so good in this scene. Despite him wearing a bulky batsuit, he manages to convey Batman's sympathy for the kid through that mask. And it's because of gruesome murders like this, Bruce expresses his doubts about his efforts to change his city for the better. But he tells himself that he has to keep trying and pushing himself further. And when he returns home, we see the state of his body. His hair is a mess, his back is covered in scars and bruises, and as he takes off his recording contact lens, we see how red his eyes are from staying up all night frequently. This movie does such a brilliant job introducing us to Batman, his status with the criminals, citizens, and the GCPD, and the toll that these nights have taken on him. It is clear that this version of Batman has little regard for his own safety and well-being, as he is solely driven by his mission. So much that Bruce Wayne may as well just not exist. Batman does not care for his responsibilities as Bruce Wayne, and he acts like an emo boy as he listens to emo music. Alfred, played by Andy Serkis, tries his best to keep Bruce alive and tend to his responsibilities to his family's legacy, while helping him out with his Batman stuff. They solve another clue led by the Riddler, which leads Batman to the Iceberg Lounge, the go-to hangout spot for Gotham's criminals and corrupt law enforcement.
Put the gun down or I'll blow your head off!
Home run!
Fear is a tool.
Batman talks to the club's owner, the Penguin, played by Colin Farrell. Batman questions Penguin about the mayor's visit with a suspicious woman. The Penguin claims to know nothing and that he doesn't take interest in what people do in his club. But a host walks in on their conversation, and Batman takes note of her recognizing a woman in the photo. He follows her, revealing to be Catwoman, played by Zoe Kravitz, who also played the character in the Lego Batman movie. Catwoman explains that the woman in the photo is her friend named Annika, and that the mayor stole her passport. She agrees to help Batman when her friend goes missing. Batman also learns her name by looking at her bills. This Batman really does take every opportunity to find any little bit of information he can. The Riddler claims his second victim and responsibility for killing the mayor in no time flat, with his second victim being the corrupt commissioner Pete Savage, as he feeds him alive to rats in a bizarre contraption he placed on him. Jeez, this Riddler really is taking his derangedness to the next level. And this time, he leaves a message for Batman, requesting him to bring the rat into the light. The next night, Batman enlists Catwoman's help to go undercover into the Iceberg Lounge, which doesn't go well as their goals come into conflict, as Selina gets a hunch on Annika's whereabouts. She exits as the drunk district attorney tries to follow her, and he makes like a tree and gets whacked by a Riddler in his car. Bruce heads to attend the mayor's funeral, and he's very awkward in public as Bruce Wayne. He avoids eye contact and is very awkward in conversations, a very steep contrast to his stern and more composed demeanor as Batman. And the up-and-coming Mayor Bella Real, who strives to change the corruption and poor state of Gotham, tells Bruce that he could do more to help the city with his vast wealth left by his parents, who seemingly did so much for Gotham during their time. Again, as far as I'm concerned, Bruce Wayne in this movie is not even a persona. He's just a ghost. Just then, the funeral is interrupted by the DA, forced to crash the funeral as he is soon to be Riddler's third victim. Batman intervenes as there is yet another message addressed to him. The GCPD are especially pissed off now that Gotham's vigilante is taking charge of a bomb disposal. The Riddler forces the DA to confess his crimes before he refuses to confess the identity of the Rat, out of fear for his family's safety. And then he goes boom, knocking Batman out. Batman comes to in the GCPD, where an officer tries to remove his mask, which never goes well for anyone who tries in any continuity. The police chief wants Batman to be detained under suspicion of being an accessory to Riddler's crimes, but Gordon is able to buy him some time. To avoid suspicion on Gordon's side for aiding his escape, Batman punches Gordon in the face and straight up books it. Most of us are used to Batman escaping situations like this with smoke pellets or other means, but here, since he's still a noob Batman, he just hilariously runs away with every cop in the building chasing after him. He manages to take a shortcut to the roof with his grappling gun, but as soon as he looks over the ledge, he gets scared for a second. Usually Batman doesn't display fear. He then transforms his cape into a glider suit, which was made for real and not CGI, which is impressive. He manages to escape the cops, but has a pretty rough landing. This entire scene makes it clear how inexperienced this version of Batman is, from his not so smooth escape and gliding skills, and the fact that his means of gliding is a traditional glider suit, rather than the bat cape that we're used to seeing Batman use. Batman and Jim then track down the one they believe to be the Rat, being the Penguin, where Batman runs into Catwoman and they find her friend Annika dead in the trunk of a corrupt GCPD officer's car, same guy that Batman yeeted a bat at. This draws the Penguin's attention to them, and Batman reveals his ride, the Batmobile, with a roaring engine. Catwoman escapes with some loot, and Batman chases the Penguin, who must be terrified out of his mind, being chased by a vehicle with such a loud engine. Seriously, it's like the Batmobile is an extension of Batman's rage, and when you hear the sound of it, you know that the guy who made it has some emotional problems and he is out to get you. This scene is thrilling and intense to watch, as the heavy amount of traffic and the slippery roads from Gotham's rainy weather causes so much hindrance to both drivers, to the point where Penguin just says fuck it and resorts to causing a major wreckage to try and throw Batman off his tail. However, this only fuels Batman's frustration further as he hits the Batmobile's afterburner full throttle.
Oh my god!
And when Batman walks up to the wreckage, I love the Old West feeling with the way this scene is shot. Batman's heavy boots impacting the wet ground as if he were wearing cowboy boots, and the grappling gun holstered on the side of his leg like an actual gun gives off more of a cowboy western vibe. And of course, the touch of Michael Giacchino's Batman melody builds up as the Penguin gets more and more scared until the Bat finally catches his prey. After getting a Spanish lesson from Mr. Cobblepot, Batman realizes that he and Alfred made a mistake with answering a riddle. So the Riddler gives Batman and Gordon another clue that leads them to an abandoned orphanage that was promised renewal by the late Thomas Wayne. Batman then realizes that Bruce Wayne is the next target. He desperately tries calling Alfred, but learns that he was too late as he was knocked out by a bomb sent by Riddler that was meant for him. After doing some detective work on his living room floor, more revelations are broadcasted by the Riddler, and Bruce learns of how his mother was committed to Arkham many times and that his father tried to cover it up. While he was running for mayor, Thomas Wayne asked crime boss Carmine Falcone to deal with the problem, which he resorted to by killing the reporter who threatened to release the information to the public. Bruce Wayne then heads to the Iceberg Lounge to visit Carmine Falcone, and this time he's more fidgety and nervous than when he went as Batman.
No, I am. You know who I am.
Carmine Falcone, played by John Turturro, gives Bruce more history about his family and their ties with the mob, and not even 10 seconds after Alfred awakens, Bruce berates him for not telling him about his father's misdeeds. Jeez, Bruce is really taking emo to the next level. Alfred tries to assure Bruce that despite his mistakes, his father was still a good man and only wanted to protect his family, and that he did not care for his public image or the campaign. But he did not want Falcone to kill the reporter for threatening to spill the beans. Which, no doy, a crime boss will do anything to get leverage over you. Alfred apologizes for not being properly equipped to raise Bruce, and only being able to teach him how to fight. Despite their dysfunctional relationship in this universe, Bruce and Alfred still care for each other, even if Bruce doesn't accept Alfred's apology. Just then, he and Gordon see the bat signal, lit by Catwoman, who is beating the snot out of the corrupt cop that Batman yeeted a bat at. She shows Batman and Jim a voicemail, confirming that Carmine Falcone was responsible for her friend Annika's murder. Batman and Gordon then come to the conclusion that Falcone is the rat that Riddler is after. Catwoman takes off with the intention to kill Falcone as Batman pursues her, and both infiltrate the Iceberg Lounge in their disguises. Selina blows her opportunity to kill Falcone while his guard is down by revealing that she is his daughter. Batman shuts down the power to the building and switches into his batsuit. And he beats up the thugs in a dark hallway, only lit by their gunshots as they spray and pray for their bullets to hit the bat, which do nothing more but bounce off him. Very reminiscent of Darth Vader's hall scene from Rogue One, which makes sense since both movies were shot by the same cinematographer, being Greg Fraser. Great choice. Batman takes down Falcone and convinces Catwoman that he will pay for his crimes and that she doesn't have to pay with him. A small moment of victory for the GCPD, bringing down one of Gotham's biggest crime bosses. Unfortunately, this victory is cut very short as the Riddler assassinates Falcone from his apartment, which was just across the road from the Iceberg Lounge the entire time. However, Riddler is arrested in no time flat at a local coffee shop. Batman and the GCPD investigate the apartment, and find one last letter addressed to the Batman, along with the murder weapon from Riddler's first victim. Just then, the Riddler requests to meet Batman in Arkham Asylum. Batman heads there straight away to finally get some answers on Riddler's motives, and he claims that he was inspired by Batman's actions, and decided that he wanted to rid Gotham of corruption through his own sick terms. Riddler was also inspired by Batman's mask, as he understood that he was looking at his true face, and decided, I wanna do that! The Riddler can basically be summed up as an impressionable man-child, who wanted to be like his hero, but went about it in the most sickening way possible. And he has a meltdown when Batman berates him for being nothing more than a pathetic psychopath begging for attention. And Paul Dano does such a great job at portraying this mentally disturbed criminal having a meltdown when he doesn't get the approval from the dude he looked up to. And this guy is so delusional that he refuses to make the connection that Batman is Bruce Wayne. From the way he begins the conversation saying his name over and over, which is clearly making Batman uncomfortable when he says it, especially since they're being recorded by the security cameras, until he says, he's the only one we didn't get. With how much he claims to understand the Batman being his true persona, you think that he would easily be able to make the connection that Batman is Bruce Wayne. But no, he believes that Bruce is too selfish of a person to be the Batman. I suppose that this is the case for Riddler most of the time in most continuities, as he believes that he's the smartest person in the world, yet he's too arrogant and deluded to believe that he gets his ass handed to him by a spoiled rich kid with rage issues on a regular basis. The whole lead up to this moment, from the trailers to the explosion scene at Wayne Tower, made it seem like the Riddler was smart enough to figure out Batman's identity, but ultimately he foolishly denies this possibility. As he goes through his meltdown, he rants about how carefully he planned everything out and that they could have watched the whole thing together. This confuses Batman, which Riddler picks up on and turns the tables of the conversation, claiming that Batman is not as smart as he thought he was, since he missed the final piece of his puzzle. Batman heads back to the apartment to find out what he missed, where he runs into Officer Martinez, who's a little friendlier to him than he was at the first crime scene. Funny thing, throughout the movie, he clearly does not like Batman, but he likes Bruce Wayne. Batman is still stoic as usual, but the two manage to work together in solving Riddler's last puzzle, revealing a map of Gotham with bombs that blow up the dams flooding the city. They also manage to uncover a video Riddler sent to his social media followers to carry out his cause. It's funny and chilling seeing this mentally disturbed character just casually saying, "Hey guys, thank you for your support," like a regular social media influencer. And he certainly had a negative influence on his followers, as they plan to assassinate Bella Real, who is now officially Gotham City's new mayor. Batman quickly heads to the stadium and beats Riddler's goons to a pulp. One of them gets the upper hand and almost manages to kill him, but Catwoman arrives just in time to rescue him. That thug then gets back up and attempts to kill Catwoman, and Batman, being in an injured state, injects himself with a suspicious looking chemical that heals his injuries, and fuels his already less than stable rage. Given that the chemical is green and pushes his rage, it is quite possible that this could be venom, the compound used by Bane to enhance his strength. Whether this is the case or just a simple Easter egg, we will have to see if it comes back into play in a future movie. Jim manages to stop Batman before he knocks this punk's lights out for good. And this dude is lucky to be still conscious after being punched in the head multiple times by a fully enraged Batman. Gordon asks who this punk is, and he replies, "I'm vengeance." The same thing that Batman said to those punks he beat up at the beginning of the movie. Hearing his words come from the mouth of someone following the cause of a dude who took all the wrong lessons from him causes Batman to have a change of heart. He sees that the citizens below are in danger of drowning and the electrical lines of the building are about to fall and electrify the water. And Batman commits his first truly heroic act in the movie and cuts the wire to prevent the citizens from being electrocuted. And Batman, the symbol of vengeance, drowns in the water. And Batman, the symbol of hope, rises. As he approaches the wreckage, everyone is still afraid of him, except for one. The boy from the beginning of the movie is the first one to take Batman's hand, earning the mayor's trust and the other civilians as they help each other out of the wreckage. Batman then leads them through the darkness to safety. The next morning we see the aftermath and the destruction Riddler and his followers have caused to the city. Things aren't looking really good for Gotham. The city is flooded, the National Guard is coming, martial law is in effect, and the criminals will be sure to take advantage of the city in its wrecked state. But their new mayor promises to clean up the city from top to bottom and rebuild people's faith. And Batman assists Fire and Rescue with helping the survivors from the stadium wreckage. Batman learns that vengeance won't undo his tragedy or do any good in changing Gotham for the better. He realizes that if he really wants to make a change, he has to become more than a symbol of vengeance. And he has learned that inspiring hope is the best way for him to do that. Because the people of Gotham need it now more than ever. To know that someone is looking out for them and striving to change things for the better. The first citizen that Batman helped at the beginning of the movie was afraid he was going to hurt him, while the last citizen he rescues at the end of the movie is afraid to let go of him. But Batman, without saying anything, assures her everything is going to be okay, and he holds her hand until she's lifted into the air via a rescue helicopter. Batman's resolve has been strengthened, and he now strives to pass that power to Gotham's citizens, so that they can change their city for the better. The Riddler watches in dismay at Batman receiving all the glory in the news, and being portrayed as the hero while he rots in Arkham as a nobody. But then he befriends his neighbor, who of course is none other than the Joker. I love the Joker and all, but I sure hope that they're saving him for the third movie, as I'm ready to see Batman's other villains get their time to shine instead of it being stolen by the Joker yet again. Batman meets up with Catwoman one last time. Catwoman tries to convince Batman that there's no point for him to keep going like this, since she believes that Gotham is already far gone and he's just gonna get himself killed. Even if it does get worse from here, Batman knows that he has to keep trying, especially with his clearer mindset. Catwoman asks Batman to come with her, but one glance at the bat signal and they both know that Batman's mind is already made up. The costumed duo bid each other farewell, and Batman heads to continue his mission, with his resolve burning stronger than ever. I'm gonna say this movie is a goddamn masterpiece from beginning to end. I knew this in my heart from when I first watched it in the cinema on the night of its release, but I could never quite find the words why I thought it was a masterpiece. And after multiple rewatches over the past 3 years, and writing the script for this video, I am now fully reassured that I'm not just being biased. The murder mystery setting is very intriguing and warrants the 3-hour runtime. Because you know that the Riddler is the murderer, but you're wondering, what's his motive? What's his obsession with Batman? Does he actually know his identity? How is everything connected? Seeing a younger and angrier Batman who is not liked by anyone including the GCPD is very interesting, and it's heartwarming when he finally learns how to be a hero by saving people, and taking his first step to becoming the heroic Batman that we all know and love. Batman has a powerful presence in every scene he's in, even when he doesn't have much to say. Gotham City looks absolutely perfect in this movie, and exactly how I want it to look. Dirty, rainy, large buildings, and litter and graffiti everywhere. The action is superbly done, the movie is well shot and scored, and the actors did a brilliant job all around. Especially Colin Farrell as the Penguin. I consider him to be the comic relief of this movie. I must get around to watching the spin-off show he was in.
What the hell is this? Good cop, batshit cop?
And again, Michael Giacchino's Batman beats are used super effectively for his scenes, whether he's just standing in a room, or when he's about to beat the snot out of a punk. And Michael Giacchino is also known for composing The Incredibles, Cars 2, and the MCU Spider-Man trilogy. Good choice. The effects are very well done, as Matt Reeves strived to use as many practical effects as possible just like Christopher Nolan did for his Batman movies. And it helps maintain the immersion, and after seeing so many Marvel movies with overuse of CGI and green screen or blue screen, this movie was visually refreshing to watch. That being said, I'm getting a bit worried that this mindset of putting Batman in the real world is gonna be a recurring thing for future live-action Batman movies, and cause filmmakers to stray away from the fantastical aspects of Batman, such as his weird villains like Clayface or Killer Croc. Just because Batman has no superpowers, doesn't mean that every filmmaker has to ground him into the laws of reality. I'm not saying it's a problem with Matt Reeves' version of Batman, as I am looking forward to part 2 and part 3. I'm just saying that I don't want it to become the norm for all future live-action iterations of Batman. But in conclusion, I feel that I can confidently say that The Batman is a flawless masterpiece from beginning to end. Intriguing premise, the characters were great, the score is well utilized, great cinematography, and Batman learns what it takes to be a true hero and inspire hope to his fellow citizens. You probably guessed it, I'm also giving this movie the certified Bat rank, as it is without a doubt the best live-action Batman movie in my eyes. Speaking of Batman, it's time to rank the final Batman for this entire retrospective. Robert Pattinson. His Batman voice is just right. It's scary and imposing without sounding too over the top like Christian Bale's, and he expresses strong emotions through that mask. Even when he doesn't speak, you can get an idea of what he's thinking. His Bruce Wayne is very fidgety and nervous, which fits the story, and listens to emo music. And with the story being centered around a murder mystery, it gives a great opportunity to take advantage of Batman's detective skills. And while this version of Batman is a noob, he is still a very keen detective, and when he makes mistakes, he goes back and looks for what he missed. He may not quite be the world's greatest detective yet, but this is only his second year as Batman, so he is inexperienced. But the movie does still take good advantage of him being a keen detective. As I said earlier, the Batmobile feels like an extension of Batman's rage, with how loud the engine is. And I like how it's essentially just a custom modified muscle car. It definitely looks and sounds like something someone with an anger problem would have made. For his gadgets, he's got the grappling gun, and those contact lenses that he uses to record everything he sees, which I suppose does come in handy for his detective work. And I find it interesting how the cape transforms into a traditional glider suit and he struggles to use it. I'm hoping that this is a setup for part 2 or part 3, where he finally works out how to make the Batcape glider and hone his gliding skills. Come on, Matt Reeves, do it! I don't care if it's unrealistic, and if you do it, I will scream at the top of my lungs in the cinema. Disclaimer, be respectful in the cinema and do not disrupt the viewing for other audiences. And it's cool how the Batarang is actually a piece of the Batsuit. Speaking of which, I think it's without a doubt one of the best live-action Batsuits. I love the black and grey color scheme, with the suit being body armor. It reminds me of the Arkham Knight suit, but with the Arkham Asylum Bat logo, since the small shape is very similar. I initially wasn't sure about the mask when it was first revealed, since the expression looked a bit blank to me, but after seeing Robert Pattinson's performance, it has grown on me. Again, it's impressive how much emotions he's able to display through that mask. As for his fight scenes, while this movie may focus more on Batman's detective skills, the fight scenes that are present do showcase that he does fight very well. He's a very fast and hard hitter, which is what I want to see in Batman fight scenes. He does tank a lot of hits, but this Batman just takes the punishment and delivers more to his foes. This is clearly a Batman who has little regard for his own well-being, and is just too angry to die. And for the first time in a live-action Batman movie, since Batman and Robin of all things, he doesn't kill anyone. Finally, someone fully understands Batman's rule and sticks to it. Good on you, Matt Reeves. So I have to say, Robert Pattinson delivered a strong first impression for his Batman, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in part 2 and part 3. I will give him the Bat rank. And that is finally it for my Batman movie retrospective. I may do the straight to video releases in the future, but for now, I'm done. These videos already took long enough for me to make, but it was a fun ride going through all the different cinematic incarnations of my favorite superhero. There were many different takes on the character of Batman, the villains, and his world. Every director and actor brought something different to the table, which is what made this an interesting video to make. I certainly have a lot of fond memories for most of these movies, and going back through all of them to see where I stand on them now was an interesting ride. Especially Batman Forever, with how much my perspective on it changed after 10 years of not watching it. Even with my stance on Batman and Robin not changing much, but being able to laugh at it as a comedy. No matter what other franchises I become interested in down the road, or how many other characters with fantastical abilities I come to like, I'm sure that Batman will always stick with me no matter what. Because Batman shows that you don't need to have superpowers to reach your full potential and leave your mark on the world.